Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived a young boy who spent all of his days sitting high up on a hill under a maple tree. He had just one job: to watch over the sheep from the big, bad wolf. The wolf, too, had just one job: to hunt down sheep to satisfy his hunger. The boy often found himself bored. Guarding the sheep day in, day out left him wishing for a different job, or perhaps some excitement. More than anything, he hated sitting alone all day, every day. So, one day, he decided to shout, "Help! Help! A wolf is chasing the sheep, and they're all running away!" The villagers heard the boy's cries, and they all dropped what they were doing and quickly rushed to help. But when they reached the top of the hill, there was no wolf, just the boy and the sheep, peacefully resting in the greenest grass you could imagine. "Where is the wolf?" the villagers asked. "There is no wolf," the boy said, unable to stop himself from laughing. The villagers were upset. They were exhausted from running and frustrated about their interrupted work. One of the men turned around and shouted at the boy, "Don't cry wolf when there is no wolf around. Only call for help when you truly need it." The boy found all of this very amusing. He was quite the little prankster and enjoyed seeing people rush up the hill for no reason. So, the next day, the boy walked up the hill with his flock. He cupped his hands around his mouth and yelled again, "Help! Wolf! Help me! He's going to eat all the sheep in my flock!" Once more, the villagers dropped what they were doing and ran up the hill. And once again, there was no wolf. "Where is the wolf?" the villagers asked. "There is no wolf," the boy replied, and once again he couldn't help but laugh. Again, a man turned and firmly said, "Don't cry wolf when there isn't one around. Only call for help when you truly need it." The next morning, the boy went up the hill with his flock again. And wouldn't you know it, this time, he actually saw a real wolf hiding in the nearby forest. At first, the boy didn't know what to do, but then he started yelling, "Help! Wolf! Help!" The people in the village heard his cries, but this time they knew better and didn't come running up the hill. The villagers kept hearing his cries, but didn't move an inch. They wouldn't fall for the same trick again. Now all the sheep ran away and were lost, chased off by the wolf. The boy was very saddened by this and sat down by the tree again. But this time, there was no smile on his face. At the end of the day, the villagers waited as usual for the boy to bring back the flock of sheep. But that evening, the boy didn't return. They decided to go and see what was wrong. The villagers gathered around the boy. Through his tears, he asked, "Why didn't you come to help me? A big bad wolf chased all the sheep away. I yelled and yelled, but no one came to help." The villagers were angry because their sheep were lost. The man who had always advised the boy to stop yelling as a joke said, "Now you see, no one believes a liar. How are we supposed to know if it was real or if you just did it for your amusement again?" From that day on, the boy always told the truth. The Lion and the Mouse. Once upon a time, there was a tiny little mouse. He lived with his Mama Mouse and Papa Mouse and his 500 mouse brothers and sisters in a big nest made out of grass and sticks. With that many brothers and sisters, it was hard for the mouse to stand out or make his parents proud of him. He dreamed of being special, or maybe even famous, but he found there was nothing he was really very good at. One of his sisters was an amazing singer, and one of his brothers could do all of his times tables, even 7. He had another brother who could do a backflip and another sister who painted the most beautiful finger paintings. He couldn't do any of those things. He couldn't cook, he didn't know how to build nests or invent things, he wasn't good at telling jokes or doing magic tricks. He tried everything, but was disappointed time and time again. On a particularly bad day, after the mouse was finished trying to find out if he could hold his breath underwater the longest, he decided it was time to take a break. Once he had finished coughing up water, he decided to go for a walk. "I've had enough," he said to himself. "I'll never be good at anything, and no one will ever notice me." Dripping wet and a bit embarrassed, he trudged off, away from the nest and his family. He walked through the grass and past the watering hole where the giraffes, zebras and hippos were cooling off in the midday sun. They didn't notice him either. The mouse kept going, feeling absolutely miserable. He wasn't sure where he was going, but he needed some space, away from his back-flipping, times-tabling mouse brothers and sisters. He walked across the dry, dusty ground towards an acacia tree, and looking high up at the branches, he decided to climb. For a moment, he thought perhaps this could be his talent. He could climb really well. But then he remembered that that's just a mouse thing, and it didn't make him special at all. Still, he wasn't sure what else to do, so up he went. He reached one of the top branches and stopped to rest. Just then, a huge lion with a massive fluffy mane came ambling over. The lion flopped onto the ground, sending a cloud of dust up into the air. The mouse froze. What was he going to do now? He'd have to wait until the lion left again, but it was hot, and the lion's belly looked round and full. He would be there for hours. The lion started snoring, and the mouse tried to get comfy for a long stay. Suddenly, a great big wasp came and buzzed around the mouse's head. The mouse tried to swat it away, but the wasp just kept coming back, buzzing around his head again and again. "Buzz off," the mouse whispered, careful not to wake the lion. With all of the swatting and swinging, the mouse lost his balance, and before he could stop himself, he went toppling off the branch. Down, down, down he went, and landed in a tangled heap right on top of the lion's mane. The mouse was terrified. He didn't dare move a muscle. He waited for the lion to wake up, but by some miracle, the lion stayed asleep. Slowly, carefully, the mouse freed himself from the thick mane and crept down the lion's shoulder, over his paw, and back down to the dirt. He took one last look at the lion to check he was still asleep, and finding that he was, the mouse started home, breathing a huge sigh of relief. Little did he know that the puff of air that he released vibrated one of the lion's long, wiry whiskers, and the lion opened one eye. Suddenly, the lion's huge paw came down on the mouse's head, and he was trapped. It was dark and scary under the lion's paw, and the mouse trembled. Said the lion, licking his lips. "A tasty little afternoon snack. I do love a juicy little mouse." "No, don't eat me," squeaked the mouse. "I'll do anything." The lion thought about it for a moment. "Like what?" he asked. "Can you do a magic trick?" The mouse could not believe it. He couldn't do a magic trick to save his life, and he'd made peace with that, except now it might actually save his life. He suddenly felt very sad about it again. "I can't do anything special," the mouse said sadly. "I don't have any talents. I'm not particularly clever or handsome. But I promise that if I can ever repay you, I will. If you ever need help, I will be there." The lion paused for a moment, and then he threw his head back and laughed, a roaring, whole-body-shaking laugh. He slowly lifted his paw and came nose to nose with the mouse. "I'm not sure how you'll ever be able to do anything to repay me, tiny little mouse. But you have made me laugh harder than I've laughed in a good long while, so I will let you go." The mouse didn't look back. He ran and ran all the way home, climbed into bed, and got straight under his covers. He was the luckiest mouse alive. Maybe that was his talent. In the next few days, the mouse told his brothers and sisters what had happened with the lion, but none of them believed him. No one had ever spoken to a lion and lived to tell the tale before. How typical that the only impressive thing the mouse had ever done was so fantastic that no one thought it could possibly be true. After a while, the mouse stopped bothering to tell anyone, and soon even he started to wonder whether it had really happened or whether he'd dreamt the whole thing. He gave up on trying to be special too, and instead started dressing up as a superhero at mouse kids' birthday parties. One day, when the mouse was just finishing his hero act at his niece's 6th birthday party, he heard a deafening roar, thundering across the plains. Suddenly, his promise to the lion echoed through his head, and he lurched into action. With his cape flying out behind him, he ran towards the sound as fast as his legs could carry him. All the animals at the watering hole were running too, but they ran the other way, away from the terrifying sound. The roars got louder as he got closer, and he realised the sound was one of terrified panic, not of rage. Finally, he came to the acacia tree, and underneath it he found the lion, caught in a poacher's net. He looked tired, and he was tangled up so tightly that the ropes were digging into his fur. The mouse leapt onto the lion's shoulder and got close to his ear. "I'm here," he said, with his chest bravely puffed out.
"Mouse, is that you?"
the lion said weakly.
"Are you dressed up as a superhero?"
"Doesn't matter," the mouse said. "I'm going to rescue you." And the mouse jumped down and started gnawing on the ropes that held the lion. He gnawed and chewed and munched and chomped until the ropes pinged loose and the lion sprang free.
"Little mouse," the lion said, "you have saved me. How can I ever thank you?"
"We're even now," the mouse replied. "My debt is repaid."
"Are you absolutely sure there's nothing I can do?" the lion said.
"Well," said the mouse, "there is one thing." And so, that is how the mouse came to be delivered back to his mouse brothers and mouse sisters, and Mama Mouse and Papa Mouse, riding high on top of a lion's mane, dressed as a superhero. The lion told the mouse family about his mouse friend's actions.
"And he is the bravest, most daring mouse I have ever met."
The mouse felt amazing. Finally, his family were proud of him. But more importantly, he felt proud of himself, because he knew that he had done the right thing when no one else could. And that made him the most special mouse of all. The end. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this magical story. If you want to come along on more of our adventures, make sure you subscribe to our channel. There's so much more to be discovered. You can start right now by clicking on our channel and picking your next favourite tale. There really is something for everyone, from daring heroes and mischievous creatures to magical lands and secret wonders. And remember, by subscribing, you'll be the first to know when a brand new story is ready to be enjoyed. Let's go.